Hey, welcome back everyone. Back here with a new video, kind of a video response to Mr. Oreo and his Toaplan video he just put up a little while ago. And Toaplan, they're pretty much the father of shoot 'em ups. They were around since the mid 80s and up until the mid 90s. And without them, none of my favorite companies would really be around or would have ever existed. In 1994, they filed for bankruptcy and split up into four different companies. One was Gazelle, who are known for games like Air Gallet. There's Takumi, who, of course, is known for the Gigawing series, Mars Matrix. Night Raid is one of his less-known games. And finally, there's Raizing, who they aren't around anymore per se today. They still are around as aiding and make some fighting games. They worked on Marvel vs. Capcom 3 and Tatsunoko vs. Capcom on the Wii. And they're still developing games today, but no more shoot 'em ups. This is the first game that Raizing developed in 1993, Sorcerer Striker, or Mahou Daizakusen. It's the first game in the Mahou Daizakusen series. It's a pretty classic game, classic gameplay, some beautiful artwork, awesome sprites, and music is great. Definitely ahead of its time. This game came out actually before Batsugun, so I'm not sure how the timing really works. Maybe it was in development before it and it was just released after it, and I have no clue, but Batsugun came out in '94, I think. But yeah, this is an awesome game. Definitely check it out if you haven't. No ranking system to worry about or anything complicated. It is hard as shit, but it's definitely playable and it's a great game. Here's a look at the board over here. I also got some artworks that came with it. Here's the flyer. This game was actually ported to a couple of systems, the Sharp X68000 and the FM Towns computer. This game would actually not run on the Marty just because it didn't have enough RAM. Yeah, great game. Some more artwork here. So the next game, which came out a year later, 1994, I don't have the PCB, but this is the Sega Saturn version of Kingdom Grand Prix. And sorry for the lack of focus here. I don't know what's going on, but Kingdom Grand Prix is a very unique game. It's not just a shoot 'em up, it's also a racing game, which is pretty weird. But it's actually a lot of fun. The music is awesome in this game. You'll recognize it if you play it. It's the same composer who made the music for Final Fantasy Tactics and Radiant Silvergun. Not sure what his name is, but it's some really good stuff. Can't go wrong with this game. The board is getting pretty expensive nowadays, and the Sega Saturn version is pretty good, so I'll just stick with that. Next, we have everybody's favorite game, the first game programmed by Yagawa, Battle Gorega, which introduced the ranking system. It's a very tough game. It'll take years of practice to master this game, but I actually love the Sega Saturn version. I don't own the PCB either, but the Saturn version has the remix soundtracks and Saturn mode. Also has the version which lets you play with the bigger bullets, because a lot of people complained about difficult to see bullets and just getting killed by shrapnel and things on the level without being able to see it. And I love Battle Gorega. The music is amazing, and it's one of the best shoot 'em ups I've ever played. Next up here, this game was originally developed for the Sega Saturn or Sega STV arcade hardware. It's Sokyu Gurentai or Terra Diver. Terra Diver or Driver. But either way, it's a pretty awesome game. A little different than what you'd expect from Raizing. It's more like 3D, 2D ships on 3D planes and stuff. But it's a really cool game. It has a lock-on system similar to Layer Section or Galactic Attack. Really cool game. I'm not sure how it compares to the STV version, but I see no problems with the Saturn version. Let's see, next up we have Armed Police Bat Rider, original PCB right here. This is the manual. I just printed out some other artwork for it. Don't have any of that stuff. But this is an awesome game, and it's a great tribute to the older Raizing games. You can unlock ships from the original Mahou Daisakusen as well as Battle Garega. And there's so many unlockables and scoring methods in this game. Also, you'll never get bored of this game if you're into these kind of games. Here's a look at the PCB and the dip switches. And yeah, next up we have, let's see, I'll show this one, Battle Backride. This game came out in 1999. We got some artwork that came with that game. And once again, I consider this the third in the series by Yagawa, even though he's still programming games and he's working for Cave now. But this is another awesome game. It continues the ranking system. They made it a little more friendly, easier to keep your rank down, easier to graze bullets, and just overall, much more polished game, I feel. Even though people love Battle Garega the most, I feel like this is the most polished one. It has some beautiful artwork also. The sprites are awesome. The music is really good. These games are getting really tough to find nowadays and pretty pricey. Here's a look at the manual. These are just copy arts too, they're not original. And next up, we have the only CPS2 game. Actually, there's two CPS2 games. This is the only one I own. Daimahu, or Great Mahou Daisakusen, which is the third and final game in the trilogy that started with Sorcerer Striker. Got my dirty ass board over here. It's definitely seen better days, but awesome game nonetheless. Tough as hell. It has a magic system where you could switch between blue and red magic to attack enemies that are weaker, similar to Ikaruga, but this game came out before it, I believe. But an awesome game, has amazing graphics, and it's fast paced. The bullets move kind of slow, but there's a lot of bullets on screen. But another great game by Raizing. Let's see. And the last shoot 'em up that Raizing came out with is Brave Blade. This was a 3D shooter that it looks like a PS1 game. I think it was programmed on some PS1 hardware. You can see it says Sony here on the board. But yeah, another very cool game. It's probably my least favorite in the Raizing series of games, but still a cool game nonetheless. Every ship has a hand-to-hand combat weapon like a sword or a spear, and the scoring system is really weird. The little medals that come down, you can keep attacking them and they become higher value. But it's still a cool game, very unique, and it's the last game that Raizing made. Here's the original manual right here. Either way, Raizing definitely one of my favorite developers of all time, and it's a shame they're not around as they were back in the day. They're still making the games, like I said, fighting games and other stuff like that, but wish we can go back to the 90s, relive these moments, but we can't. So all we can do is just keep playing these older games and hope that we'll see more like them in the future. Mr. Oreo, again, thank you for that stick, and hope this video helps supplement your Toaplan video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll catch you around the next time. Alright? Peace. Daimahu.